The bench felt colder than it looked. Polished wood, pale as old bone, smelling faintly of cleaner and dust. A place built to hold stillness. To force it. She sat there with her hands folded, wrists loose, shoulders square, breathing the way she had learned to breathe underwater when panic wanted to tear the mask from her face. In through the nose. Slow. Out through the mouth. Slower. Nothing in the room belonged to her, yet everything pressed against her skin. Her name sat on a folded card on the table in front of her, black ink trying to be official. She did not look at it. Names had weight today. She could feel hers pulling at her chest. The courtroom murmured like a tired animal. Shuffling shoes. Paper sliding. Someone coughing, too loud, then apologizing to no one. She kept her eyes forward, not on the judge yet, not on the rows behind her where faces leaned in with curiosity disguised as boredom. She knew the look. The almost smile of people who wanted a story but not a responsibility. Her suit jacket fit badly. Borrowed. Too tight across the shoulders she had built carrying other people's lives. The fabric tugged when she moved, reminding her she was not supposed to be large here. Not supposed to take up space. She thought of the ocean without trying to. The way the world went quiet at depth. Pressure everywhere, but clean. Honest. Down there, nothing pretended to be neutral. A woman stood across the room, posture rigid, hands clasped behind her back. A uniform pressed into sharp lines. Badge catching light. The cop did not look at her. Not directly. She looked past, as if the air where she sat was unimportant. As if it were empty. That was familiar too. She felt it then, the old tightening behind the ribs. Not fear. Not yet. A narrowing. Like a door being slowly closed. She reminded herself where she was. Courtroom. Rules. Eyes. Cameras somewhere, maybe. Everything recorded except the truth, which slipped through gaps no one wanted to see. Her attorney leaned toward her, whispering something about procedure, about patience. She nodded without hearing. Words drifted past like leaves on water. She was listening to her body instead. To the small tremor in her left hand she could not stop. To the scar tissue pulling faintly along her side, a map of a night that never fully left. The judge had not entered yet. Time stretched. The cop shifted her weight. Boots scuffed the floor. The sound was loud in the quiet, a deliberate announcement of presence. Ownership. The cop turned then. Finally. Her eyes moved over her in pieces. Skin. Hair. Shoulders. Stopped at the face, just long enough to register something hard and displeased. A smile flickered. Gone. The cop took a step closer, too close for comfort, too far to be an accident. She leaned down as if to adjust something on the table, her breath warm, invasive. The smell of mint and metal. Her voice was low, meant only for her. You people always think the uniform saves you. The words slid under her skin. Old words. New mouth. She did not answer. Silence had kept her alive before. She kept her eyes forward, jaw tight, heart beginning to drum. The cop straightened, satisfied, and stepped away. A hand brushed her shoulder as she passed. Not a touch. A claim. Something inside her snapped to attention. A switch thrown in the dark. Her pulse slowed. The shaking stopped. She thought of a different room, years ago. Concrete walls. Fluorescent lights. A man laughing while someone else held her down. She had survived by going still then too. By becoming smaller than the pain. Not today. The judge entered. Everyone rose. The ritual felt hollow. She stood with them, spine straight, head high, a posture learned through repetition and loss. When they sat again, she did not look at the cop. Proceedings began. Names. Charges. Words stacked like bricks. The cop's testimony came early. Calm. Controlled. A story shaped to fit the room. She listened, not to the sentences, but to the pauses. The places where truth had been cut out. Then it happened quickly. The cop moved again, crossing the space as if to hand something to the clerk. As she passed, she leaned in harder this time. Her elbow drove into ribs. Sharp. Intentional. A hissed whisper. Stay in your place. Pain flared. White and hot. The room gasped softly, unsure if it had seen. Her body reacted before thought. She rose, fast, chair leg scraping. She turned, eyes locking, voice steady and low. "Do not touch me." The room froze. For one breath, everything balanced on a thin edge. Her heart beat once. Twice. She felt the weight of every eye. The judge's gavel hovered, uncertain. The cop stared back, surprise cracking her composure. Just a hairline fracture. Enough. She did not raise her hands. Did not strike. She stood her ground, body a wall, presence undeniable. Years of training, restraint honed sharper than any weapon. The knowledge of exactly how much force it would take to end the moment. And the choice not to. The cop stepped back. Color drained from her face. Regret bloomed, sudden and quiet. The judge called order. Voices rushed in. The spell broke. She sat down slowly, ribs aching, breath measured. Around her, the courtroom exhaled. Inside, something else settled. Not victory. Not peace. Just the heavy, undeniable knowledge that even here, even now, she had been required to fight simply to exist. She stared at the wood grain on the table, following a dark line with her eyes until it blurred. The ocean felt very far away. She did not remember standing when the recess was called. Only the sound of the gavel again, softer this time, as if embarrassed. People rose. Benches sighed. Her attorney touched her elbow, careful now, as though she might shatter if handled without permission. She followed the small procession through a side door, ribs burning with each breath, the pain already turning dull and deep like a bruise that would never fully bloom. The hallway was narrow and too bright. White paint layered over older white, the smell of old paper and something antiseptic. A place meant to scrub people down to cases. She leaned against the wall while her attorney spoke to a clerk, words low, urgent. She closed her eyes. Counted. The way she always did when her body tried to pull her backward into other rooms, other hands. In. Out. Again. She had been trained to catalogue sensations. The drag of air through lungs. The slight tremor in the floor from footsteps passing. A flicker of heat along her side. Pain was information. Panic was noise. She sorted one from the other. A memory pressed in anyway. Not the courtroom. A boat deck, slick with spray, the night folding around them. Her team quiet, efficient, breathing as one organism. She had loved them then, fiercely, without romance. Loved the way no one questioned her right to be there. Loved the silence that meant trust. Here, silence meant something else. Her attorney returned. He was young. Earnest. He spoke carefully, like someone approaching a wounded animal. "We're filing an incident report," he said. The judge saw enough. Others did too. She nodded. Filing things did not stop them from happening again. She had learned that early. "Are you okay?" he asked. She opened her eyes. Looked at his face. The concern was real. That mattered. "I'm here," she said. It was the closest thing to honesty she could manage. They sat in a small room with a table scarred by old initials. She pressed her palm flat against the wood, grounding herself. Her phone buzzed once in her pocket. She did not check it. Messages could wait. The world could wait. When she stood to return, the pain sharpened briefly, then settled again. She welcomed it. Pain meant present. The courtroom felt different when they re-entered. Charged. People avoided her eyes now. Some with shame. Some with curiosity sharpened into hunger. She took her seat and did not look for the cop. Refused to grant that attention. The judge addressed the incident with measured language. Professional disappointment. A warning. Words designed to smooth rough edges without changing their shape. The cop stood, face pale, jaw tight, and accepted it. Apologized to the court. Not to her. That omission landed heavy. She felt something else then. Not anger. Weariness. A deep, bone-level fatigue that came from being asked over and over to absorb the impact so others could continue believing the system bent toward fairness. Her mind drifted to her mother, sitting at a kitchen table years ago, hands wrapped around a mug gone cold. You don't have to be strong all the time, she had said, voice soft, eyes sharp with worry. She had smiled then, confident, invincible. She had not understood the cost yet. The proceedings dragged. Testimony resumed. Her turn came later. She stood. The room leaned in. She told the truth plainly. Not the dramatic truth. The simple one. She did not raise her voice. Did not perform pain. She named actions. Times. Touch. Impact. She described the feeling in her ribs like a door slammed shut. She did not say racist. She did not need to. The word hung there anyway, unspoken, vibrating. When she finished, she Saturday. Her hands were steady. She noticed with a distant satisfaction. Control was not the same as healing, but it was something. The cop avoided her gaze now. That, too, was information. Afterward, outside, the sky had gone grey. Rain threatened but did not fall. The steps were crowded with reporters, phones raised like offerings. Her attorney shielded her, words spilling out in practiced cadence. She kept her eyes down, moving forward, breath measured. Someone called her a hero. Someone else asked if she felt vindicated. She felt none of it. Vindication implied an ending. At the curb, she stopped. The city hummed around her, indifferent and relentless. She pressed a hand to her side, feeling the ache deepen. A reminder. She was alive. She was hurt. Both true. Her phone buzzed again. This time she looked. A message from an old teammate. Just 3 words. Saw the footage. Her chest tightened. She imagined his face. The understanding there. The anger he would never show in public. She typed back slowly. I handled it. A lie. A truth. The line between them blurred. The rain began then, light and persistent, darkening the pavement. She tilted her face up, letting it touch her skin. Cold. Real. She stood there a moment longer than necessary, letting the water mix with whatever threatened to spill out of her eyes. When she turned away, the courthouse loomed behind her, unchanged. The system intact. She walked on, carrying the weight of what had not been said. Night settled unevenly. The kind that didn't arrive all at once but crept in through cracks, pooling in corners. She stood at her apartment window, city lights smeared by rain, ribs throbbing in slow rhythm. The borrowed suit lay draped over a chair like a shed skin. She had peeled it off the moment she entered, hands shaking then stilling, breath shallow until it wasn't. She had showered without feeling the water. Stood there too long, letting heat bruise her skin red, as if she could overwrite the ache with something simpler. It hadn't worked. Pain was stubborn. Memory more so. Her phone lay face down on the counter. Silent now. She knew what waited there anyway. Messages from people who wanted something from her. Statements. Reactions. Gratitude shaped like expectation. She did not pick it up. Instead, she pressed her forehead to the glass. Watched a bus hiss to a stop below, doors sighing open. People spilled out, ordinary and burdened, carrying groceries, carrying children, carrying nothing anyone else could see. She wondered how many of them had watched the clip already. How many had formed opinions without context, without breath, without weight. A knock came. Soft. Careful. The kind meant to ask permission. She turned slowly. Crossed the small room. Opened the door. He stood there taller than she remembered, rain darkening his jacket, eyes scanning her face the way medics scanned bodies. Not for spectacle. For damage. Hey, he said. She nodded. Stepped back. Let him in. They did not touch. Not yet. He closed the door behind him, the click loud in the quiet. He smelled like wet wool and the faint, familiar tang of gun oil that never quite left. She had missed it without knowing. They stood there, 2 people shaped by the same pressure, unsure how to exist without a mission between them. I saw it, he said finally. All of it. She shrugged. The movement tugged at her side. She winced despite herself. He noticed. Always did. Sit. She did. On the edge of the couch. He crouched in front of her, hands hovering, asking without words. She nodded once. He pressed gently along her ribs, fingers precise. She breathed through the pain, jaw clenched. Nothing broken, he said. You already knew that. She almost smiled. He sat back, elbows on knees. Looked at the floor. I wanted to be there. I know. Silence stretched. Comfortable. Heavy. The kind built over years of shared restraint. They're calling you a symbol, he said. His voice carried a quiet anger. You didn't ask for that. No, she said. I asked to be left alone. He huffed a soft laugh that died quickly. That's never been your luck. She leaned back, closed her eyes. The room hummed. Pipes. Traffic. Life continuing without pause. I keep thinking I'm done proving things, she said. Then someone decides I'm not. He did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was low. You shouldn't have had to stand like that. In that room. I've stood in worse. That's not the point. She opened her eyes. Looked at him. Really looked. The lines at the corners of his mouth. The way his shoulders held tension like a secret. No, she said. It isn't. They sat with it. Let the truth settle where it hurt. Later, he made tea. Strong. Too strong. She drank it anyway, hands wrapped around the mug, feeling heat seep into her palms. He watched her over the rim of his cup, saying nothing. Do you ever get tired, she asked suddenly, of being careful? He considered. I get tired of pretending it works. She nodded. That felt right. Outside, sirens wailed, then faded. Somewhere else, someone else was learning a lesson they didn't want. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Again. She ignored it. He did too. Tomorrow, he said, they'll want more from you. I know. What do you want? The question landed gently. No pressure. She closed her eyes again. Searched. Found only fragments. I want, she said slowly, to stop bracing for impact. He did not offer platitudes. Just nodded. Yeah. When he stood to leave, they hugged. Brief. Solid. The kind that acknowledged limits. At the door, he paused. You didn't lose control today, he said. You chose it. After he left, the apartment felt larger. Emptier. She locked the door. Leaned against it until the ache in her side demanded movement. She picked up her phone at last. Scrolled past headlines. Past names. Past arguments. Found one message she hadn't noticed before. From her mother. No words. Just a photo. A sunrise. Light breaking clean and soft over water. Her chest tightened. She sat down slowly, letting the quiet press in. Outside, the rain finally stopped. The city held its breath. So did she. Morning came thin and pale. The kind that didn't promise anything. She woke on the couch with the light already in the room, ribs stiff, throat dry, heart steady in a way that surprised her. For a moment, she did not remember why her body felt like this. Then memory settled, gentle but firm, and she lay still, letting it. She rose slowly. Made the bed she had not slept in. The ritual mattered. Order where she could create it. She dressed in soft clothes, fabric forgiving, and brewed coffee she barely tasted. Outside, the city moved with practiced indifference. It always had. It always would. Her phone lit up again. She did not flinch this time. Scrolled without urgency. Messages blurred into categories. Support. Outrage. Advice she had not asked for. A few apologies from people who had never noticed before. She read none of them closely. Instead, she deleted most. Left a handful unread, like stones she might return to later. She stepped out onto the balcony. The air was cold and clean after the rain. She breathed deeply, ribs protesting, and smiled faintly at the pain. It anchored her. Reminded her she was still here. That she had not disappeared into anyone else's story. A knock came mid-morning. Louder than last night's. Official. She opened the door to find a woman in a plain coat, eyes careful, posture neutral. An investigator. Introductions exchanged. They sat at the small table. Questions asked gently. Answers given plainly. No embellishment. No defense. Just facts placed carefully between them like fragile objects. At one point, the investigator paused. Looked up. "Do you feel safe right now?" she asked. The question surprised her. She considered it honestly. "Safer than yesterday," she said. It was enough. When the woman left, the apartment felt quieter than before, as if something had been removed that had been humming just below hearing. She cleaned then. Not because it was dirty, because movement helped. She wiped counters, folded laundry, lined her shoes neatly by the door. Each small action stitched her back into herself. In the afternoon, she walked. No destination. Just forward. The city offered its usual contradictions. Beauty beside neglect. Kindness beside cruelty. She passed a playground where children shrieked with laughter, oblivious. The sound cut through her, sharp and sweet. She paused, watched them run, remembered a time when her body moved without calculation. A woman on a bench recognized her. Hesitated. Then nodded once, respectful. Did not speak. That restraint felt like a gift. As evening approached, she found herself near the water. The river moved slow and wide, surface catching the last light. She sat on the concrete edge, careful with her side, and watched the current carry small debris away. Leaves. Paper. Things let go without ceremony. She thought of the courtroom. The polished wood. The breath she had held. The choice she had made. She thought of the cop's face in that moment of realization, not triumphant, not monstrous. Just human. Fallible. Afraid. That knowledge sat heavy, complicated. She did not seek forgiveness. She did not deny accountability. She simply held the truth as it was. Untidy. Unresolved. Her phone buzzed once more. This time, she answered. Her mother's voice came through warm and steady. They spoke of nothing important. The weather. A neighbor's dog. The way light fell on the kitchen floor that morning. At the end, her mother said, "I'm proud of you. Not for what you did. Just for existing." She closed her eyes, let the words sink. Dusk deepened. She stood, joints aching, and headed home. Tomorrow would come with its demands. Interviews. Meetings. Decisions about how much of herself to offer up for public consumption. She did not solve that tonight. She did not need to. Inside her apartment, she turned off the lights one by one. Left only a lamp glowing soft and amber. She sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, ribs supported, breath even. Outside, a siren wailed distantly, then faded. She allowed herself one small, private thing. She placed a hand over her heart. Felt it beat. Strong. Unapologetic. No one was watching now. No one needed her to perform. The quiet held. And for the first time since the courtroom, she did not brace.